My boyfriend flew 5,000 miles to surprise me. 2 hours later, I got this text from a stranger. I'm pregnant with his baby. But the real surprise? The text I'd sent to my landlord the night before. Saved my life. Hey there, if you are enjoying the heat of the story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, and tell me where you are watching from. Because trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. The phone slipped from Amara Chen's trembling fingers and clattered against the bathroom tiles. She stared at the screen, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. The message was gone. Sent. Irretrievable. And it wasn't to Marcus. No. No, 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 no. She snatched the phone back up, her wet hair dripping cold water down her spine as she frantically tapped the screen. Maybe she could unsend it. Maybe there was a way to delete it before he saw it. But the blue checkmark mocked her. Read. 11:47 p.m. David Park had read her message. Her landlord had just read the most desperate, humiliating, raw piece of her soul that she'd ever put into words. The message that was supposed to go to her boyfriend. The message where she'd written about how empty she felt, how she couldn't sleep anymore, how she needed him to want her the way she wanted him, how she was tired of being invisible, of being an afterthought, of touching herself at night and pretending it was enough. Amara's stomach lurched. She barely made it to the toilet before she threw up. 20 minutes earlier, she'd been scrolling through Instagram, watching Marcus pose with his arm around some girl at a club in Accra. The girl was beautiful, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Amara's rent. Marcus was laughing, his head thrown back, his hand on the small of the girl's back. The same way he used to touch Amara. Before he stopped answering her calls. Before 2 days of silence that felt like drowning. She tried calling him 15 times today. 15 times, and every single call went to voicemail. But he could post on Instagram. He could go to clubs. He could touch other women and smile like he didn't have a girlfriend in Toronto who was working double shifts just to send money home to his mother. His mother, who wasn't even sick anymore but still needed help with the pharmacy bills. Or so Marcus said. The shower was supposed to calm her down. Instead, she'd stood under the scalding water and felt everything she'd been holding back for 3 years finally crack open. When she got out, wrapped in a towel that was too thin and too old, she'd grabbed her phone and started typing. Everything. All of it. The loneliness that felt like a physical weight in her chest. The way she couldn't remember the last time Marcus had asked her how she was feeling. The way she'd started to hate the sound of her own voice because it was always asking, always needing, always begging for scraps of attention. She wrote it all in a burst of desperate honesty, her fingers flying across the keyboard, tears mixing with the water still dripping from her hair. And then she hit send. To D. Park. Not Marcus Osei. D. Park. Her landlord. The man she'd seen exactly 3 times in 2 years. The man who owned the building and probably thought she was just another struggling immigrant trying to make rent on time. The man who'd come to Golden Years Home Care 6 months ago to visit his grandmother before she died, who'd thanked Amara specifically for being kind to Mrs. Park, who'd tipped all the staff but had given Amara an extra $50 and said, "My grandmother said you're the only one who remembers she likes her tea with honey, not sugar. Thank you for seeing her." That man had just read her unfiltered breakdown. Amara pulled herself up from the bathroom floor, rinsed her mouth, and caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her braids were frizzing at the edges. She looked exactly like what she was, 26 years old and completely, utterly lost. Her phone buzzed. She closed her eyes. Maybe if she didn't look, it would somehow undo itself. Maybe the universe would take pity on her and make this entire night disappear. But the phone buzzed again, insistent, and she forced herself to look at the screen. David Park, are you safe right now? Her breath caught. That wasn't what she'd expected. She'd expected nothing. Or maybe a cold, professional message about keeping boundaries between tenants and landlords. Or worse, silence. The kind of silence that meant he was so uncomfortable he was already figuring out how to get her out of the building. Another message appeared. David Park, I don't need details. I'm not asking you to explain. I just need to know if you're physically safe where you are. Amara's hands shook as she typed back. Amara, I'm so sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. I'm mortified. Please just forget you saw it. I'm fine. I'm safe. I'm so sorry. She watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Her heart was still racing. This was a nightmare. This was the kind of thing that happened to other people, the kind of story you heard and thanked God it wasn't you. But it was her. And she couldn't take it back. David Park, don't apologize. We all have hard nights. I'm glad you're safe. If you need anything, I'm around. No judgment. I mean that. Amara read the message 3 times. Then 4. There was something in the simplicity of it that made her chest ache in a different way. No prying questions. No awkwardness. Just, I'm glad you're safe. When was the last time Marcus had said anything like that to her? She didn't respond. She didn't know how. Instead, she plugged her phone into charge, turned off the bathroom light, and crawled into bed. But sleep didn't come. She lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying the entire disaster over and over. At some point, exhaustion pulled her under, but even in her dreams, she was sending messages to the wrong people, watching them multiply and spread like cracks in ice. When she woke up at 6 in the morning, there were no new messages from David Park. But there were also no messages from Marcus. Still. 2.5 days now. She told herself she didn't care anymore. She told herself she was done. But she checked his Instagram anyway. There were 3 new stories. Him at breakfast. Him at the gym. Him getting into a car with the same girl from last night. Amara felt something inside her go very still and very cold. She got up, got dressed in her scrubs, and headed to work. Golden Years Home Care was a 30-minute subway ride from her apartment, and she spent the entire trip staring at her phone, composing and deleting messages to Marcus. By the time she arrived, she'd written and erased the same text at least 20 times. Girl, you look like death, Sonia said the moment Amara walked into the staff room. Sonia was 52, Jamaican, and had been working at Golden Years for 15 years. She had 3 grown kids, 2 ex-husbands, and exactly 0 tolerance for nonsense. She also had a 6th sense for when something was wrong. I'm fine, Amara said, shoving her bag into her locker. And I'm Beyoncé. What happened? Nothing happened. Amara. Sonia's voice had that tone, the one that meant she wasn't going to let this go. Amara felt the tears prickling at the back of her eyes again, and she hated it. She'd already cried enough. She was tired of crying. Marcus hasn't called me in 2 days, she said finally. And I did something really stupid last night. What kind of stupid? Amara told her. About the message. About sending it to her landlord instead of Marcus. About the humiliation that was still sitting in her stomach like a stone. Sonia listened without interrupting, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. When Amara finished, Sonia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You want to know what I think?" "Oh. Do I?" "I think you sent that message to exactly the right person." Amara blinked. "What?" "Marcus hasn't called you in 2 days, Amara." 2 days. But your landlord, a man who barely knows you, checked in to make sure you were safe at 11:47 at night. You see the difference? That's not, Sonia, it was a mistake. Was it? Or was it your gut telling you something your brain doesn't want to hear yet? Amara's phone buzzed before she could respond. She pulled it out, her heart leaping for just a second, hoping it was Marcus. But it wasn't. "David Park, I know this is probably weird after last night, but I wanted to say something." "You don't have to respond." I remember when my grandmother was sick, she told me that the worst kind of loneliness is being lonely next to someone who's supposed to care. I don't know your situation, and I'm not asking. But if you ever need to talk, or just need to sit in silence with another human, my door is open. Apartment 8A. I mean that. Amara stared at the message, something warm and unfamiliar spreading through her chest. What? Sonia asked, noticing her expression. Amara handed her the phone. Sonia read the message, then looked up at Amara with raised eyebrows. Okay. Maybe you need to tell me more about this landlord. Amara didn't respond to David's message. She couldn't. What would she even say? Thank you for being kind to me when I accidentally exposed my entire emotional breakdown to you? Instead, she shoved her phone back in her pocket and focused on work. Mrs. Williams needed help with her bath. Mr. Chen wanted to tell her about his grandson's hockey game for the third time that week. Mrs. Kowalski was convinced someone had stolen her glasses, even though they were hanging around her neck. This was Amara's life. Taking care of other people. Making them comfortable. Making them feel seen. And at the end of the day, going home to an empty apartment and wondering why nobody was taking care of her. By lunch, she'd checked her phone 17 times. Still nothing from Marcus. But there was a text from her younger sister, Akoshua, back in Accra. Akoshua, Amara, Mum says she needs 500 cedis for the water bill. Can you send it today? Also, I need new textbooks for next semester. Maybe 800 cedis? Amara closed her eyes and did the math in her head. Between rent, groceries, and the money she'd already sent home this month, she had maybe $300 left in her account. And that had to last her another 2 weeks until her next paycheck. Amara, I can send 300 cedis today. That's all I have right now. Tell Mum I'll send more next month. The reply came immediately. Akoshua, 300 cedis? Amara, that's not even enough for the water bill. What are we supposed to do? Amara felt the familiar guilt settle over her shoulders like a heavy coat. This was the weight she carried every single day. Her father had died 3 years ago, right before she moved to Toronto. Heart attack at 53. And just like that, Amara became the provider. The oldest daughter. The one everyone depended on. Marcus used to understand. Or at least, he used to pretend to. He'd tell her she was strong, that her family was lucky to have her, that he admired her sacrifice. But lately, he'd started making comments. About how she worked too much. About how she never had time for him. About how maybe if she managed her money better, she wouldn't be so stressed all the time. As if he wasn't part of the problem. As if she hadn't sent him $2,000 last month because he said he needed help with rent after he got laid off. As if she hadn't found out from his cousin that he'd never had a job to get laid off from in the first place. You need to eat, Sonia said, appearing beside her with a container of rice and chicken. And you need to stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. I'm not. Yes, you are. I've been watching you. It's like you're waiting for something that's not coming. Amara's throat tightened. He'll call. He's just busy. Busy doing what? Being an asshole? Sonia. I'm serious, Amara. I've been where you are. I stayed with my second husband for 6 years waiting for him to change. You know what changed? Me. I got older. I got sadder. I got smaller. And he stayed exactly the same. Marcus isn't like that. Isn't he? Sonia sat down across from her. When's the last time he made you feel good about yourself? When's the last time he called you just to hear your voice? When's the last time he did anything that didn't benefit him? Amara didn't have an answer. Her phone buzzed. This time, it was Marcus. Her heart jumped into her throat. She grabbed the phone so fast she almost dropped it. Marcus, baby, I'm sorry I've been MIA. Things have been crazy here. I miss you. That was it. No explanation. No acknowledgement of the 15 missed calls. Just, things have been crazy. Amara's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of her wanted to demand answers. Part of her wanted to scream at him. But the bigger part, the part that was tired and lonely and desperate for things to go back to how they used to be, just wanted to believe him. Amara, I miss you too. I've been worried. Are you okay? The 3 dots appeared immediately. Marcus, I'm good now that I'm talking to you. Listen, I have a surprise. Amara, what kind of surprise? Marcus, I'm at Pearson Airport. I'm in Toronto, baby. Came to see my girl. Amara's breath stopped. She read the message 3 times, her brain trying to catch up with what her eyes were seeing. Marcus was here. In Toronto. Right now. Amara, what? You're here? When did you land? Marcus, about an hour ago. I'm grabbing my luggage now. Can you leave work early? I can't wait to see you. Sonia was watching her face. What happened? He's here, Amara whispered. Marcus is here. In Toronto. He just showed up. Without telling you? He said it's a surprise. Sonia's expression darkened. Amara. Think about this. He ignores you for 2 days, and then suddenly he shows up on your doorstep without warning? That's not romantic. That's control. You don't know him like I do. I know men like him. They disappear when it's convenient and show up when they need something. But Amara wasn't listening anymore. Marcus was here. He'd flown all the way from Accra to see her. That had to mean something. That had to mean he still cared. She texted her supervisor, claiming a family emergency, and rushed out of Golden Years. The subway ride back to her apartment felt like it took hours. Her mind was racing. She needed to clean. She needed to change out of her scrubs. She needed to look presentable, look like someone worth flying across the world for. By the time she got to her building, she was breathless and sweating despite the cold. She took the stairs 2 at a time, fumbling with her keys as she reached her door. And then she saw him. Marcus was leaning against her apartment door, 2 large suitcases beside him. He was wearing the leather jacket she'd bought him for his birthday, the one that cost her an entire week's pay. His hair was freshly cut. He looked good. He always looked good. There's my beautiful girl, he said, flashing that smile that used to make her forget everything else. Amara dropped her bag and ran into his arms. He caught her, lifting her off the ground, and for a moment, everything felt right again. He smelled like cologne and airports and home. I can't believe you're here, she breathed against his neck. I told you I'd make it up to you, didn't I? She pulled back to look at him. You didn't tell me anything. You just disappeared. I know. I'm sorry, baby. But I'm here now. That's what matters, right? He kissed her before she could respond. It was a good kiss, the kind that reminded her why she'd fallen for him in the first place. When he finally pulled away, she was dizzy. Let's go inside, he said. I'm exhausted. Amara unlocked the door, suddenly hyper-aware of how small and shabby her apartment was. Marcus had never seen it before. They'd been dating since before she moved to Toronto, and all their time together had been in Accra, in his neighborhood, in his world. He stepped inside and looked around. She watched his expression shift, something crossing his face that might have been disappointment or pity or both. It's cozy, he said finally. It's what I can afford. I'm not judging, baby. I'm just saying, maybe we can find you something better. Something we can afford together. Amara froze. Together? Marcus set his suitcases down and turned to her with that smile again. That's the other part of the surprise. I'm staying. I'm moving to Toronto. We can finally be together, like we always talked about. Her mind went blank. Moving to Toronto. Staying. Together. These were words she dreamed about hearing for years. But something about the way he said them, about the way he just appeared without warning, without discussion, made her stomach twist. Marcus, when did you decide this? Does it matter? I'm here. We're together. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Yes, but where are you going to stay? Do you have a work visa? How? We'll figure it out, he said, waving his hand dismissively. Right now, I just need a shower and some sleep. That flight was brutal. He grabbed one of his suitcases and headed toward her bedroom without waiting for an invitation. Amara stood in the middle of her tiny living room, her heart pounding, her mind spinning. This was supposed to be a good thing. This was supposed to be what she wanted. So why did she feel like she was about to drown? Her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, and for some reason, her heart lifted when she saw David Park's name. David Park, I know I'm probably overstepping, but I heard someone unfamiliar in the building. Just wanted to make sure everything's okay with you. Amara stared at the message. Marcus was in her shower. In her apartment. In her life, physically present for the first time in 2 years. She should be happy. She should be relieved. But all she could think about was how David Park, a man she barely knew, had checked on her twice in less than 24 hours. And Marcus, her boyfriend of 3 years, had let her worry for 2 days straight without a single word. Amara heard the shower running in her bathroom and stared at David's text. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Everything's fine, she should say. My boyfriend is here. It's all good. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, she typed, yes, everything's okay. Thank you for checking. She hit send and immediately felt guilty. Marcus was here. He'd flown thousands of miles to surprise her. She should be in that bathroom with him, should be laughing and grateful and happy. But instead, she was standing in her living room texting her landlord and feeling like the walls were closing in. The shower cut off. A few minutes later, Marcus emerged wearing nothing but a towel, water dripping from his skin. He looked at her with that familiar hunger in his eyes, and she felt herself respond despite everything. This was the Marcus she remembered. The one who used to make her feel wanted. Come here, he said, reaching for her. She went to him, let him pull her close, let him kiss her neck in that spot that always made her knees weak. His hands found the hem of her scrub top, started pulling it up, and for a moment she forgot about everything else. This was what she'd been missing. This connection. This heat. But then his phone buzzed. And buzzed again. And again. Marcus pulled away with an irritated sigh and grabbed his phone from the counter. Amara watched his expression change as he read whatever was on the screen. His jaw tightened. His eyes went hard. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing. Just some drama back home. What kind of drama? It's handled. Don't worry about it. He tossed his phone back down and reached for her again, but the moment was broken. She stepped back. Marcus, what's going on? Why did you really come here? What do you mean? I came to see you. You ignored me for 2 days, and then suddenly you're on a plane? That doesn't make sense. And now you're talking about moving here permanently? We haven't even discussed this. His expression shifted, became defensive. I thought you'd be happy. You're always complaining about being lonely, about missing me. Now I'm here, and you're interrogating me? I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking questions. There's a difference. Is there? He grabbed his phone again, started scrolling through it with aggressive swipes. You know what? Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have stayed in Accra. There it was. The guilt trip. The thing he always did when she pushed back even slightly. And like always, Amara felt herself starting to apologize, starting to smooth things over, starting to make herself smaller so he could feel bigger. But then her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down at it, expecting another message from her sister or mother. Instead, it was from a number she didn't recognize. Unknown, hi Amara. This is Ajoa. I got your number from Marcus's phone. We need to talk. Please call me. Amara's blood went cold. She looked up at Marcus, who was still scrolling through his own phone, oblivious. Her hands were shaking as she typed back. Amara, who are you? The response came immediately. Ajoa, Marcus's girlfriend. Well, one of them, I guess. I'm 3 months pregnant, and he told me he was going to Toronto to get money from his sponsor. I'm assuming that's you. The room tilted. Amara read the message again, then a third time, her brain refusing to process the words. Pregnant. Sponsor. One of them. What's wrong? Marcus asked, noticing her face. Who's Ajoa? The color drained from his face so fast it would have been funny if Amara's entire world wasn't currently imploding. He stood up, the towel nearly slipping. Did she text you? So you know who I'm talking about. Baby, listen. It's not what you think. She says she's pregnant. She's lying. That baby isn't mine. How do you know? Have you taken a paternity test? I don't need a test. I know it's not mine. Because you didn't sleep with her? Or because you made sure to pull out? Amara's voice was getting louder now, shrill with anger and betrayal. Which lie do you want to go with, Marcus? Keep your voice down. Your neighbors are going to hear. I don't care about my neighbors. I care that my boyfriend of 3 years apparently has another girlfriend who's carrying his child. It's not my child. Then whose is it? And why would she text me if you two weren't involved? Marcus ran his hand over his face, a gesture she'd seen 1,000 times. The thing he did when he was caught and trying to figure out how to spin it. She used to find it endearing. Now it made her want to throw something at his head. Okay, he said finally. Okay. Yes, I slept with her. But it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. And the baby isn't mine because we use protection. Protection fails, Marcus. That's why they put warnings on the boxes. Well, it didn't fail with us, did it? 3 years and you never got pregnant. The words hit her like a slap. She actually took a step backward, her hand going to her stomach instinctively. They'd never used protection. Not once. She'd been on birth control, but he'd known. He'd known and he'd never worried, never even asked, because he'd never wanted a future with her. Not really. Get out, she whispered. Amara. Get out. Where am I supposed to go? I just got here. I don't know anyone in this city. That sounds like a you problem. Baby, come on. Let's talk about this. I flew all this way. To use me. Ajoa told me. She said you came here to get money from your sponsor. That's me, right? Your sponsor. Not your girlfriend. Not someone you love. Just someone stupid enough to send you money every month while you sleep with other women and get them pregnant. Marcus's expression changed then. The charm fell away, replaced by something colder. You want to know the truth? Fine. Yes, I needed money. I got evicted. I owed people, okay? And you were always so eager to help, so eager to play the martyr. What was I supposed to do? You made it easy. Amara felt something crack inside her chest. It wasn't her heart breaking. Hearts broke in movies, in songs, in poetry. This was different. This was the sound of every lie she'd told herself finally shattering. All those times she'd convinced herself he loved her. All those times she'd blamed herself for not being enough. All of it was built on sand, and now the tide had come in. You need to leave, she said quietly. Right now. I told you, I don't have anywhere to go. Then go to a hotel. Go to a shelter. Go to hell. I don't care. But you can't stay here. Marcus grabbed his suitcase, started throwing clothes on with sharp, angry movements. You're going to regret this. You know that? You're going to wake up tomorrow and realize you just threw away 3 years over one mistake. One mistake? Marcus, how many were there? How many other women? He didn't answer. He just zipped up his suitcase, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Then he turned back, and for a moment, his expression softened. I did care about you. In my own way. I hope you know that. Get out. He left. The door slammed behind him, and Amara stood alone in her apartment, surrounded by the ghost of him. His cologne still lingered in the air. His wet towel was still on her bathroom floor. 3 years of her life, reduced to a bad smell and some damp fabric. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Hello? Amara? It's Ajoa. Did you talk to him? Yeah. I talked to him. I'm sorry. I know this isn't easy. But I thought you should know. He was going to keep lying to both of us. How far along are you? 3 months. I found out last week. That's when he disappeared. When I told him, he said he needed to think. Then I saw his location at the airport, and I knew he was running. Amara closed her eyes. I've been sending him money for 2 years. Almost everything I make. I know. He told me about you. Called you his Canadian investment. The words should have hurt more than they did. But Amara was already numb. What are you going to do? About the baby? I don't know yet. But whatever I decide, it won't involve him. I'm done. Yeah, Amara said softly. Me too. They talked for a few more minutes, two women who'd loved the same terrible man, finding unexpected solidarity in their shared devastation. When Amara finally hung up, the apartment felt impossibly quiet. She should call Sonia. She should call her mother. She should do something other than stand here feeling like she'd been hollowed out. Instead, she found herself pulling up David Park's contact. She stared at his last message. Just wanted to make sure everything's okay with you. Her fingers moved before she could stop them. Amara, it's not okay. Nothing is okay. I don't know why I'm telling you this. But you asked if I was safe, and I am. Physically. But I think I've been emotionally unsafe for 3 years and I'm just now realizing it. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she sat down on her couch and waited for the crying to start. But the tears didn't come. She just felt empty. Carved out. Like someone had reached inside her and removed something vital. Her phone buzzed. David Park, I'm coming down. Don't argue. I'm bringing tea. 5 minutes later, there was a knock on her door. Amara opened it to find David standing there holding 2 disposable cups from the Korean cafe on the corner. He wasn't in a suit like he'd been the times she'd seen him before. He was wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, his hair messy, his eyes concerned. I didn't know if you liked green tea or black tea, so I got both, he said. Amara started laughing. She couldn't help it. After everything, after Marcus and Ajoa and 3 years of lies, here was her landlord standing at her door with tea, and it was the most absurd, perfect thing she could imagine. Green tea is good, she managed between laughs that were definitely edging toward hysteria. David handed her a cup and stepped inside cautiously. Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want me to just sit here quietly and be a warm body in the room? The second one, please. So he did. David Park sat on the opposite end of her couch, drinking his black tea, saying nothing. And somehow, his quiet presence was more comforting than any words could have been. They sat like that for almost an hour, not speaking, just existing in the same space. Finally, Amara said, he was cheating on me. Got another woman pregnant. Came here to use me for money. I'm an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're someone who loved the wrong person. That's not the same thing. Amara looked at David, really looked at him for the first time. He had kind eyes. The kind that didn't look away when things got uncomfortable. The kind that saw you, even when you didn't want to be seen. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she asked. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. I know you took care of my grandmother when she was dying. I know you stayed late on your own time to sit with her when she was scared at night. I know she told me you were the only person who treated her like she still mattered. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. That's my job. I get paid to care for people." "No. You get paid to keep them clean and fed and medicated. Caring is extra. Caring is a choice." David set his empty cup down on the coffee table. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died. Car accident when I was 8. She was everything to me. When she got sick, I tried to be there, but I was building the business, dealing with property acquisitions, and I missed so much time with her. And then one day I came to visit, and she told me about you. About how you brought her tea with honey, not sugar, because you remembered. About how you asked her about her life in Korea, actually listened to her stories. She died 2 weeks later, and her last words to me were, 'Find someone like that girl Amara. Someone who sees people.' So yeah, I know you." Amara felt tears finally starting to form. "I'm not who you think I am. I just spent 3 years with a man who treated me like an ATM machine. I ignored every red flag. I made myself small and quiet and convenient. That's not someone worth knowing. That's someone who's human. Someone who hoped for better. There's no shame in that. There should be. I'm 26 years old and I have nothing to show for it. No savings. No degree. No relationship. I send most of my money home to my family, and they still act like it's never enough. I work 60-hour weeks taking care of strangers, and I can't even take care of myself. What kind of person does that make me? Generous. Loyal. Maybe too loyal. But those aren't character flaws, Amara. Those are qualities that the wrong people exploit and the right people treasure." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't even know what the right people look like anymore. I thought Marcus was right. For 3 years, I thought we were building something. Can I ask you something?" David shifted to face her more directly. "When's the last time he made you feel good? Not excited, not needed, but actually good. Like you were enough exactly as you are." Amara opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. She searched her memory, going back through 3 years of relationship, and came up empty. "I don't know." "That's your answer then." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and saw Marcus's name. "Marcus, baby, I'm sorry. I'm at a hotel and I've been thinking. We can work through this. I know I messed up, but we have history. Doesn't that mean something? Can we talk tomorrow?" David noticed her expression change. "Is that him?" "Yeah." "You don't have to answer." "I know." But even knowing that, even after everything, Amara felt the pull. The muscle memory of 3 years of always responding, always being available, always giving him one more chance. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Can I tell you what I see?" David asked quietly. "You don't have to listen, but I need to say it." Amara looked up at him. "I see someone who's been running on empty for so long she's forgotten what it feels like to be full. I see someone who's so used to being needed that she's forgotten she deserves to be wanted. And I see someone who's about to give another chance to a man who's already had 1,000 chances and wasted every single one. You don't understand. It's not that simple. It is that simple. It's just not easy. There's a difference." David stood up, gave her space. "I'm going to leave now. But I want you to know something. That message you sent me last night? It wasn't a mistake. Maybe you didn't mean to send it to me, but you meant to send it. Some part of you was screaming for help, and it found a way out. Listen to that part. She knows what you need. He walked to the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. My number's in your phone. If you need anything, even if it's just tea and silence, I'm upstairs. Apartment 8A. I mean that. After he left, Amara sat alone with her phone in her hand. Marcus's message glowed on the screen. We have history. Doesn't that mean something? She thought about Sonia's words from earlier. I stayed with my second husband for 6 years waiting for him to change. You know what changed? Me. I got older. I got sadder. I got smaller. She thought about David's question. When's the last time he made you feel good? She thought about her grandmother's voice from when she was little, before the old woman died and left Amara as the oldest daughter, the responsible one. Her grandmother used to say, a bird that lets itself be caged for too long forgets it has wings. Amara looked at Marcus's message one more time. Then she blocked his number. She sat there for a moment, heart pounding, half expecting to feel regret or panic or loss. Instead, she felt something lighter. Like she'd been holding her breath underwater and finally surfaced. Her phone rang. It was Sonia. Tell me everything, Sonia demanded the second Amara answered. So she did. The whole story poured out, Ajoa's text, Marcus's confession, the eviction, the lies, the money, the 3 years of being an investment instead of a girlfriend. Sonia listened without interrupting, letting Amara purge it all. When she finally finished, Sonia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I'm proud of you. For what? Being stupid enough to fall for his lies? For being brave enough to walk away. Do you know how many women can't do that? Do you know how many times I went back before I finally stayed gone? What if I'm making a mistake? What if he really does want to change? Amara. Baby. Listen to me. People don't change because we love them hard enough. They change because they love themselves enough to do the work. And Marcus? He doesn't love anyone but himself. I know. I do. But it still hurts. Of course it hurts. That's how you know you're human. But here's what you need to ask yourself, do you want to hurt now for a little while, or do you want to hurt for another 3 years? Because that's your choice. Short-term pain that heals, or long-term pain that kills you slowly. After they hung up, Amara made herself some instant noodles and sat on her couch eating them straight from the pot. It was almost midnight. She had work in the morning. She should sleep. But her mind wouldn't quiet. She pulled up David's contact. Stared at it. Put her phone down. Picked it back up. Finally, she typed, thank you. For the tea. And for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. His response came quickly. David Park, you're welcome. How are you holding up? Amara, honestly? I don't know. I keep waiting to fall apart, but I just feel numb. David Park, that's normal. You're in shock. It'll hit you later, probably at random times. Be gentle with yourself. Amara, can I ask you something? And you can say no. David Park, anything. Amara, why are you single? You're kind, you're successful, you clearly know how to treat people well. What's wrong with you? She saw the 3 dots appear and disappear several times. Finally, his message came through. David Park, my younger brother died 4 years ago. Gang violence. Wrong place, wrong time. He was 17. After that, I threw myself into work, into building something that mattered, and I didn't let anyone close. My ex-fiancée left me because she said I was more married to my guilt than I was to her. She wasn't wrong. I've spent 4 years building buildings and walls around myself. And then my grandmother died, and I realized I'd built a life with no life in it. So I guess what's wrong with me is I forgot how to let people in. I'm working on it. Amara read his message 3 times, her chest aching. Everyone's broken in some way, she thought. Everyone's carrying something. Amara, I'm sorry about your brother. And your grandmother. And your ex. David Park, I'm sorry about your 3 years. Amara, can I make you a deal? David Park, what kind of deal? Amara, let's both try to stop apologizing for things that weren't our fault. Deal? David Park, deal. They texted back and forth until almost 2 in the morning. About nothing important. About favorite foods and childhood memories and the best places in Toronto to get coffee. It was easy. Comfortable. The kind of conversation where silence didn't feel awkward and laughter didn't feel forced. When Amara finally fell asleep, she dreamed of wings. The next 3 months moved in strange ways. Time stretched and compressed. Some days felt like years. Others felt like minutes. Marcus tried to contact her 17 times through different numbers, through social media, through her sister. Each time, Amara blocked him. Each time, it got a little easier. Ajoa decided to keep the baby. She also took a paternity test that proved Marcus had lied about that too. The baby was his. She sent Amara the results, not to hurt her, but to validate her. You weren't crazy. You weren't paranoid. He really was that terrible. Amara started therapy. It was expensive, and it meant sending less money home, and her mother guilt-tripped her about it. But she went anyway. Once a week, she sat in a small office and unraveled 3 years of learned helplessness and self-abandonment. She picked up extra shifts at Golden Years, but this time, the money went into her savings account. She was building something. She didn't know what yet, but it felt important. And David. David became her friend. Real friend, not the kind waiting in the wings for his turn. They had tea together twice a week. Sometimes in his apartment with its view of the city. Sometimes in her apartment with its view of the alley. They talked about everything and nothing. He told her about his business, about trying to go legitimate after years of dealing with some shady property acquisitions. She told him about her dreams of becoming a nurse, about wanting to do more than just basic care. So do it, he said one evening over takeout Thai food. Enroll in the program. I can't afford it. There are loans. Grants. Programs for people like you. People like me? Smart people who deserve a chance. 6 weeks after Marcus left, Amara applied to a nursing program. 3 weeks after that, she got accepted with a partial scholarship. When she called David to tell him, he showed up at her door 5 minutes later with a bottle of wine and a genuine smile that made her heart do something complicated. I'm proud of you, he said, pouring them each a glass. You sound like Sonia. Sonia sounds like a smart woman. They clinked glasses. Amara took a sip and felt something shift inside her. Not healing exactly, but the beginning of healing. The first green shoot pushing through winter ground. Can I tell you something? She asked. Always. That text I sent you. The one that started all this. I've thought about it a lot. About what you said, how maybe it wasn't a mistake. And I think you were right. I think some part of me knew I needed help, and she found the only person who'd listen. David set his glass down and looked at her with those steady, kind eyes. I'm glad she did. Find me, I mean. Me too. They held each other's gaze for a moment that stretched longer than it should have. Amara felt her pulse quicken. There was something here, something building between them that felt both terrifying and right. I'm not ready, she said quietly. I know. But maybe someday. I'll be here. No pressure. No expectations. Just here. And that was enough. That was everything. 3 months after Marcus left, Amara got a message from an unknown number. Her heart jumped, expecting another attempt from him. But it wasn't. Unknown, hi Amara. This is Ajoa. I had the baby. A girl. I named her Alma, after my grandmother. I wanted you to know. And I wanted to say thank you. For being brave enough to tell me the truth. We both deserved better. I hope you're getting better now. Amara stared at the message, tears streaming down her face. But they weren't sad tears. They were the kind that came with release, with closure, with the recognition that sometimes the worst moments led to the best transformations. She texted back, "Congratulations. She's lucky to have a mother who's strong enough to choose herself. Thank you for reaching out. I'm getting better. Day by day." That night, she knocked on David's door. When he answered, she didn't wait for an invitation. She just stepped forward and hugged him. Really hugged him, the kind that said thank you and I see you and maybe someday without using any words at all. He hugged her back, his arms steady and sure around her. "I'm still not ready," she whispered against his shoulder. "I know. I'll wait." And he did. Because some people are worth waiting for. Some connections are worth building slowly. Some mistakes turn into the best things that ever happened to you. 6 months later, Amara started her nursing program. A year later, she moved into a bigger apartment with a lease in her own name and furniture she picked out herself. 18 months later, she went on a real first date with David Park, and it was awkward and perfect and nothing like the drama she'd mistaken for love. 2 years later, she stood in a hospital room holding Mrs. Chen's hand as the old woman took her last breath, and she didn't fall apart. She stayed present. She stayed strong. She stayed whole. That night, David picked her up from her shift. They went to their favorite Korean cafe, the one where he'd bought her tea that first awful night. They sat in their usual booth, not talking about anything important, just being. "You know what's funny?" Amara said, stirring honey into her green tea. "What?" "If I'd sent that text to Marcus like I meant to, I'd probably still be with him. Still small. Still losing myself a little more every day. The wrong number saved my life." David reached across the table and took her hand. The wrong number led you exactly where you needed to be. And he was right. Sometimes the wrong number is the rightest thing that ever happens to you. Sometimes falling apart is actually falling together. Sometimes the person who sees you at your worst is the one who helps you find your best. Amara squeezed his hand and smiled. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from pain or chasing love. She was just here. Present. Whole. Finally, blessedly, completely herself. And that was better than any fairy tale ending could ever be. The end. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt invisible in a relationship, if you've ever sent a message to the wrong person at exactly the right time, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment telling me, what's the best mistake you ever made? Sometimes our worst moments lead to our best lives. Thanks for watching, and remember, you deserve someone who sees you. Don't settle for less.